The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3 just gave us a finale that left fans screaming, crying, and debating all over social media. Belly finally made her choice, Conrad showed his true feelings, and Jeremiah faced heartbreak in a way that hit harder than ever. But beyond the love triangle drama, the finale was about something bigger. Growing up, letting go, figuring out what kind of love is worth fighting for. So, let's take a step back and look at how we got here, before we dive into the ending that everyone is talking about. Asterisk Season 3 of The Summer. I Turned Pretty picked up right where Season 2 left us hanging, with Belly caught between Conrad and Jeremiah. From the very start, the season felt heavier. Not just about summer romances and beach houses, but about what it really means to grow up when love, grief, and family are all pulling you in different directions. Belly started the season still reeling from everything that happened in Cousins. Susannah's death left a hole in everyone's lives, and the shadow of her absence was in every scene. For Belly, it wasn't just about choosing between Conrad and Jeremiah anymore. It was about holding on to Susannah's memory while also trying to figure out who she was becoming without her. That grief weighed on every relationship. You could feel how it shaped the choices Belly made throughout the season. Conrad was, as always, complicated. He kept pushing Belly away at times when she wanted to get close, but this season gave us more glimpses into why. He was still hurting, still unsure how to let himself be vulnerable, and constantly afraid of being the reason Belly got hurt again. In some moments he came across cold, but if you looked closer, you could see his fear and love mixing together in ways he didn't know how to express. It was frustrating, but also very real to his character. Jeremiah, on the other hand, stepped up in ways that surprised a lot of viewers. He became the steady, reliable one for Belly, offering her comfort when Conrad shut down. He was open about his feelings, about wanting a future with her, and about not being afraid to say the things Conrad kept inside. This made the love triangle more intense than ever. For the first time, it wasn't just Team Conrad versus Team Jeremiah. It felt like both choices had real weight, because both brothers loved her deeply, but in different ways. The season wasn't just about romance, though. There were fights, messy arguments, and moments that showed just how much these characters have grown since Season 1. Belly clashed with her mom, Laurel, who was struggling with her own grief, but also trying to guide her daughter through heartbreak and hard choices. Stephen added humor and heart, reminding us that while the love story is front and center, this is also about family and friendship. By the time we reached the later episodes, the pressure of Belly's decision was undeniable. Jeremiah gave her comfort and stability. Conrad offered passion and history. Belly herself was torn between the person she thought she was supposed to be and the person she was becoming. Every choice felt like it would hurt someone she loved. And that's what made Season 3 so powerful. It wasn't about an easy happily ever. It was about the messy truth of love, where no matter what you choose, something is lost. The finale built on all of this tension. Every scene leading up to the ending was designed to show how much Belly had grown, how much the brothers had changed, and how love doesn't always look like the fairy tale we imagine when we're younger. It's complicated, it's painful, and it forces you to face who you really are. That's why Belly's decision in the finale felt so heavy. It wasn't just about romance, it was about closure, maturity, and learning to let go of the past in order to step into the future. Season 3's recap isn't just about catching up on plot points, it's about remembering the emotional stakes that made the finale hit so hard. From Susannah's memory shaping every choice, to the brothers fighting for Belly in completely different ways, to Belly herself realizing she had to make a choice, the season was building toward one question: which kind of love lasts, and which kind do you grow out of? And when the finale answered that, fans were left with both relief and heartbreak. Belly's journey in the finale wasn't just about picking a boy, it was about finally deciding who she wanted to be. From the very first season, Belly has been painted as someone caught in between childhood and adulthood, between two brothers, between what she thought love should look like and what it really is. The finale was the first time she stepped out of that in-between space and made a choice not because it was expected of her, but because she was ready to own it. The finale begins with Belly standing in the wreckage of all the emotions season 3 had built up. Jeremiah's heart was on the line. Conrad's quiet longing was finally slipping through the cracks. And Belly herself was exhausted by carrying the weight of everyone's feelings. That exhaustion was important because up until now, she had been reacting, letting other people's choices pull her in different directions. But here, for the first time, she was the one steering. One of the most powerful parts of Belly's arc in the finale was how she faced Jeremiah. For so long, Jeremiah had been the safe space, the person who said what Conrad wouldn't, the one who was emotionally available when she needed comfort. But in the end, Belly realized that safety wasn't the same as love. Her moment with Jeremiah was tender, but brutally honest. She didn't dismiss his feelings, but she also didn't let herself hide behind them anymore. That scene was heartbreaking because it showed Belly finally understanding the difference between wanting someone there for you and wanting someone, period. With Conrad, things played out in an entirely different way. Our connection had always been messy, full of walls and silence and half-spoken words. In the finale, Belly forced herself to confront that silence. Instead of waiting for Conrad to make the grand gesture, she leaned into her own truth. And when Conrad finally let down his guard, when he admitted that his love for her had never gone away, Belly didn't run from it. She accepted it. It wasn't about him sweeping her off her feet anymore. It was about her finally being brave enough to say, "This is what I want." What made Belly's journey unique in the finale is that it wasn't about finding perfection. If she had chosen Jeremiah, she would have had stability but maybe not fire. By choosing Conrad, she embraced something raw, flawed, and complicated. And that choice was an act of maturity, because it showed she wasn't chasing a fairy tale anymore. She wasn't the girl twirling in white dresses at the debutante ball. She was someone who had walked through grief, heartbreak, and loss, and still believed that love was worth the risk. Another layer to Belly's growth was how she honored Susannah. All season long, Susannah's absence haunted her decisions. It was almost as if Belly was asking herself, what would Susannah want from me? But in the finale, it became clear that the choice wasn't about honoring Susannah's memory anymore. It was about honoring herself. That shift mattered. Belly finally understood that living in the shadow of what other people wanted, even someone she loved as much as Susannah, wasn't truly living. Her ending with Conrad wasn't just about romance. It was about stepping into her own adulthood. Her own voice. By the time the finale closed, Belly was no longer the girl stuck in the middle of a love triangle. She was a young woman who had looked at 2 possible futures and chosen the one that felt true, even if it scared her. That's what made her journey so powerful. It wasn't just about Conrad or Jeremiah. It was about finally becoming Belly, fully and unapologetically. And that's why her ending felt like more than just a romantic resolution. It was the first time we saw Belly not as someone's little sister, not as the girl being fought over, but as someone standing on her own, making her own future. Asterisk if Belly's finale arc was about stepping into her own identity, then Conrad's. It was about finally breaking down the walls he had spent years building. From season 1, Conrad Fisher has been the character who feels the most, but says the least. He hides pain behind sarcasm, love behind silence, and fear behind distance. In the season 3 finale, all of that cracked open, and for the first time, we saw Conrad not just as the unreachable boy on the beach, but as a young man finally learning to risk vulnerability. What makes Conrad's arc so unique is that it wasn't about transformation in the traditional sense. He didn't suddenly become outgoing or overly romantic or even easy to love. Instead, his change was quiet, subtle, and raw, the kind of change that comes not from wanting to impress someone, but from realizing you can't keep running from yourself. Throughout the season, Conrad struggled with guilt. Guilt over Susannah's death, guilt over how he handled Belly in the past, and guilt over hurting Jeremiah. That guilt had hardened into silence. But in the finale, Conrad chose to face it rather than hide from it. One of the most important moments for Conrad was when he finally let himself speak his truth to Belly. For 2 seasons. His love for her was something hinted at, covered up, or expressed too late. But in the finale, his words came out with a simplicity that hit harder than any grand gesture. He loved her. He'd always loved her. And he wasn't going to pretend otherwise anymore. That confession wasn't just about winning Belly back. It was about Conrad finally stepping out of the shadows he had lived in since Season 1. Conrad's relationship with Jeremiah also shaped his arc in the finale. For most of the series, their rivalry over Belly has been tense. But under it all is a deep brotherhood. Choosing to fight for Belly openly meant risking Jeremiah's trust, and that's what made Conrad's decision so heavy. Unlike Jeremiah, who wore his feelings on his sleeve, Conrad had always tried to protect everyone else from his heart. But the finale forced him to accept that protecting Jeremiah by staying silent wasn't true love. It was self-punishment. He felt about Belly he wasn't choosing to hurt Jeremiah. He was choosing to stop lying to himself. Symbolically. Conrad's arc has always been tied to Summer's fleeting nature. Beautiful, intense, but easily lost if you don't hold on to it. In Season 1, Belly's crush on him was like Summer. Itself, dreamy but unstable. In Season 2, Conrad pulled away, like the tide retreating. But in Season 3, the finale brought him back to the shore. His ending with Belly wasn't neat or polished, but it was real, and that's what made it powerful. For once, Conrad wasn't the boy she wished would notice her. He was the man who chose to show up, even knowing how messy it would be. Another layer to Conrad's finale arc was the way he honored Susannah. So much of his silence in the earlier seasons came from carrying her loss alone. But in those last moments with Belly, you could feel Susannah's presence, not as a weight dragging him down, but as a guiding light. It was almost as if Conrad realized that the best way to honor his mom wasn't by closing himself off, but by opening himself up to love, the same way she always wanted him to. That shift gave his relationship with Belly a sense of legacy, as though their story was part of something larger than just two teenagers figuring things out. What makes Conrad's arc stand out in the finale is its honesty. He didn't become perfect. He didn't suddenly know all the right things to say. He was still awkward, still hesitant, still deeply flawed. But he stopped hiding. And for Conrad Fisher, that was the biggest transformation of all. By the end, Conrad's role in the story was no longer just the boy Belly had a crush on since childhood. He became the boy who learned how to be vulnerable, who learned that silence doesn't protect love, it starves it. And when he finally spoke, Belly listened. That moment of honesty redefined not only his relationship with Belly, but also his place in the story as someone who chose to grow, even if it scared him. Asterisk, the finale of the Summer I Turned Pretty season 3 doesn't just give us an ending. It gives us closure that's been 3 seasons in the making. Belly and Conrad's final scene together is more than just a romantic choice. It's the payoff to years of longing, silence, and missed chances. To understand why this ending hits so deeply, we have to break down not just what happened, but why it matters. At its core, Belly and Conrad's ending is about timing. From Season 1, their story has always been a push and pull. She wanted him. When he wasn't ready, he loved her when she was looking elsewhere, and the two of them never seemed to be aligned. Their love story was not the smooth, easy kind. It was jagged, full of pauses and heartbreak. But in the finale, we finally see what happens when their timing matches up. Belly chooses Conrad not because he's her first crush, but because after all the heartbreak, he's still the person she sees a future with. And Conrad, for once, doesn't let fear make him run. He steps forward, finally meeting her halfway. The scene itself is quiet, almost understated, and that's what makes it powerful. There's no grand fireworks, no dramatic kiss in the rain. Instead, it's two people who have been through loss, guilt, and growing up, finally being honest with each other. That choice of simplicity is deliberate. It shows that what Belly and Conrad have is no longer about fantasy. It's about reality. It's about love that survives storms instead of being crushed by them. Symbolically, the ending mirrors the first season in a way that feels like a full circle moment. Back in Season 1, Belly spent so much time trying to get Conrad to look at her, to notice her as more than just Steven's little sister. Their early interactions were filled with longing, glances, missed signals, and moments where he pulled away just when she thought he might finally let her in. In the Season 3 finale, that dynamic flips. Belly doesn't need Conrad to notice her anymore. She knows who she is, and she knows what she wants. And Conrad, he's the one reaching out, making it clear that he sees her fully and without hesitation. That reversal shows just how far both of them have come. There's also the question of Jeremiah. And this is where the ending gets more bittersweet. Belly's choice inevitably hurts him, and for fans, it's almost impossible not to feel the sting of his heartbreak. But the truth is, Jeremiah's love was always rooted in the present. He gave Belly comfort when she needed it, he offered stability when Conrad was absent. Belly's connection with Conrad was never just about the present. It was about history, memory, and a bond that stretched across summers, grief, and family. By choosing Conrad, Belly wasn't saying Jeremiah wasn't enough. She was saying that love for her had to be something deeper than comfort. It had to be something that survived even when it hurt. Another layer to this ending is how it ties back to Susannah. Her wish, spoken and unspoken, was always that her boys would find love, that they would live fully even after she was gone. Belly and Conrad's union feels like part of that legacy. Susannah saw something between them long before Belly could even admit it to herself. So when Belly and Conrad finally choose each other in the finale, it doesn't just feel like the end of a love triangle. It feels like the fulfillment of something Susannah always hoped for. But perhaps the most unique thing about this ending is how imperfect it is. Belly and Conrad don't ride off into the sunset with everything neatly tied up. There are still wounds, still guilt, still a broken brotherhood that needs healing. And that's exactly why the ending works. Because real love doesn't erase pain, it grows through it. Belly's choice isn't a fairy tale. It's a promise to face reality with Conrad, no matter how hard it gets. For fans, this finale answers the central question the show has asked. Since day one, what kind of love lasts? Belly had her chance at safety with Jeremiah, but she chose something riskier, more fragile, and ultimately more powerful. She chose the love that scared her, the love that tested her, the love that felt like coming home even after everything fell apart. And in that choice, Belly herself finally grows up. By the time the credits roll, Belly and Conrad's story feels less like the end of a triangle and more like the beginning of something real. It's not perfect, it's not easy, but it's theirs. And that's why this ending matters. It shows us that sometimes the love worth fighting for isn't the one that makes you feel safe. It's the one that makes you feel alive.